Hello everyone, this is Mr. Eccles, and in this video I'm going to show you how to create a game in Scratch similar to Flappy Bird. Mine's called Flappy Hippo, yours can be a Flappy anything, and you should really think about the theme that you want for your game and try and make it as creative as possible. I'll give you a quick demonstration of how it works. As I'm sure you know, you click to make your bird or hippo or whatever thing you are making Flappy go up, and if you stop clicking it goes down. You have to avoid the pipes as they scroll across the screen, and the score goes up for every pipe that you get through. So one of the good things about this game is that it's been created, I've created it so that it can work as well on touchscreen, so on tablets, as well as on computers. I'm playing it on my laptop at the moment with a mouse, but if you tap the screen it will do the same thing as the mouse is doing and make the hippo fly. You'll notice that it's quite slow. That's because I'm quite old. I've also put an extra feature on this game of fast mode, so if I click fast and start the game again, you will notice it is now much faster and much more difficult. That's one way that you can improve the game, and that's something that we'll look at in the next video, which is once you've created the game, how can you make it even better? For example, this is a version that I've created of it called Flappy Hippo Donut Shooter, where I've added Marvin the annoying jellyfish and the ability for the hippo to shoot donuts. So that's one way to improve it. We'll look at other ways that you can improve it, and you might think of ways that you can make this game even better. The instructions for how to make the game, as well as being in this video, are also, if you are using Teams, they will be in your team assignments. If you are using the pupil shared area, then the instructions for this and links to all the videos are in the pupil shared area too. So let's get started and make Flappy Hippo. The first thing you need to do is start a new project and delete the cat. And now we have an empty project, and the next thing I'm going to do is give my project a name and save it so that it continues to save and I don't lose any of the work that I've done. So I'm going to call it Flappy Hippo, and I'm going to click File and Save Now. Okay, so what do we need? We need a backdrop. I'm going to stick with my original themes, but you obviously can choose any of the Scratch backdrops or indeed create one of your own. I'm going to use the blue sky, and the next thing that we need is a sprite to be Flappy. Now the reason why I chose the hippo is I really like the way that the wings flap on the hippo when it's flying, when it's animated. So you might want to have a look, if you don't want to use the hippo, at how these sprites animate. If you wanted a flappy dog, you can see that the dog's tongue animates, so that's quite good. But I'm going to stick with the hippo for now, and the reason is I really like the flapping wings. Okay, so I'm going to add the hippo, and that is now in the area, in the sprite area, and in the stage. It's definitely too big, so the next thing I need to do is shrink my sprite so that it's the right size. I know from having experimented with a few different sizes for the hippo that the best size for this game is if I change it to 40% of its original size. Now that does look quite small, but don't forget the gap between the pipes when we put those in isn't that big, so if it's any bigger than that it makes the game impossible to play. So having shrunk my hippo to the correct size, the next thing I'm going to do is add the code to allow the hippo to fly when either the mouse is clicked or the screen is tapped on an iPad or touch screen. This is the code to make that happen. I'm going to say when the green flag is clicked, forever, because I want the hippo to be able to move throughout the whole game. If the mouse is down, and for the purpose of Scratch that also means if the screen is tapped, that counts as a mouse press, I want the hippo to go up, so change the y-axis by a positive number. Otherwise, I want the hippo to drop, so change the y-axis by a negative number. So to do that, I need the if-else block, and I need to say if the mouse is down, change y by 10, so it'll go upwards, and if the mouse isn't down, then I want to change y by -5. Now I've experimented with these numbers, but you might want to have a play with them if you want to make the movement slightly different. The other thing I want to do is animate the hippo. You'll see there's two costumes. There's wings together and wings apart. So all I'm going to say is on the bit where he's flying, or she's flying, change to the next costume. And now if I click the green flag, you'll see if I don't click, it drops. If I do click, the wings flap and the hippo flies. And now I have a flappy hippo. The only other thing I really need to add at this point to the hippo is a go-to block at the start to make sure that the hippo always starts in the same position. And the position I'm going to start them in is -75 and 0. This means that they start in the center vertically. In fact, I'll show you. They start in the center vertically and just left of center. Okay, the next bit. The next bit is probably the most complicated bit, so you might want to watch the next section a few times, but please stick with it because you will be fine. Let's have a quick look at the game again, just to see what happens. So the pipes scroll across, the gap appears at a random point, and the pipes scroll across. Now how this works is I need to create a sprite for the pipes, and I also need to create a sprite that is the black bar that is at the left of the screen. And the code says make the pipes appear at a random height and scroll them from right to left until they touch the black bar and then start again on the right. So there's two different sprites that you need to create. The black bar, that's quite easy, and the sprites, that is a little bit more complicated, but if you follow these instructions carefully, you will be absolutely fine at creating them. So I'm going to go back into Scratch now and show you how to add the black bar and the pipes. First of all, the black bar. What I need to do is create a new sprite by painting the sprite. So hover over the sprite selection and click on the paintbrush, and that allows you to create a brand new sprite, and I'm going to call it bar, and I need to select the rectangle tool. I'm going to make it black. You might want to make it a different color, that's totally up to you. All I need to do is then draw a black bar, and I can then drag that over to the left, and I have a black bar on the left of the screen. Now I'm ready to add the sprite for the pipes. Now this is probably the trickiest bit in the design process. If it doesn't work when you're doing it, don't get frustrated, just delete the sprite and try again, and after a couple of goes I've no doubt that you will get it right. So again, you need to paint a sprite, and this time I'm going to paint a red rectangle, and I'm going to make sure it has no outline by clicking on the red line there. So I paint a red rectangle. You can see that is far too wide for the pipes, so the first thing I'm going to do is narrow it by dragging from the side. And then you'll see on the sprite there is a blue cross. That blue cross indicates the very center of the sprite. And if you line it up with the crosshair here on the screen, you know that that sprite is centered. Now this is quite important because one of the features of the pipes sprite is that it needs to be much taller than the game screen. And the reason this is that we're going to put a gap in the middle of it, and then the pipes are going to appear at different heights. Now, if the pipes appear up here, there's going to be a gap underneath the pipes. If the pipes appear down here, there's going to be a gap above the pipes. So all we need to do is make the pipes longer, taller than the screen. The easiest way to do this is to drag the pipe to the bottom and then hover over the end and drag that up to the top, and then drag it down a little bit further and drag it up to the top. And then if we drag it up, you can see the blue cross there. I can align that to the crosshair and I know that that pipe is centered. And it means, as you can see on the right hand side there, that the pipe is much taller than the screen. The next thing I need to do is put a gap in the pipe, and to do that I'm going to use the eraser tool, and I'm going to change the size of it to about 200, and then I'm just going to swipe across, and that's taken some of the pipe out. You'll notice it isn't very neat, but we don't need to worry about that. I'm going to show you how we fix that in a moment. The gap isn't enough, the hippo's never going to get through there, so I'm going to take another swipe at it and maybe have another go, and I reckon that's probably okay for the game. You can change this as you go along once you started testing the game and you're trying to get the hippo through. Maybe take a little bit more out. Okay. Now, because that isn't very neat, the next thing I'm going to do is, to make this look more like pipes, is to draw a very small rectangle there, probably be a little bit smaller, and drag that over the top, which, as well as making it look like pipes, also hides the fact that I didn't do a very neat cut. If I click on that and do Control and C and Control and V, it will create a copy of it, or you can just click copy up there. And I'm going to drag those over there as well. And now I have some pretty decent looking pipes, I think. The final thing that I'm going to do with the pipes sprite is to put a gradient on them so they look even better. And the way to do this is to select the fill bucket tool here and change the options to this gradient, which is the second option along. The first colour I'm going to keep as the original red. The second colour I'm going to make a darker red. Maybe about there. So now if I click on the sprites, it will colour them in this gradient. And you'll see it's only a subtle change, but it actually makes them look a lot better on the screen and makes the game look more professional. So having done that, I now have my bar, my Flappy Hippo and my pipes, and the next thing I need to do is animate the pipes from right to left. They need to appear at a different height so that the gap is at a different height every time. and when they hit the black bar they need to start again. So to do that we need to go into the code screen and add the code to animate them. With the pipe sprite already selected, I'm going to add the code that when the green flag is clicked, I want the pipes to go to the end, the right hand side, and to pick a random height. And the way that I do that is say go to X 240, which is right at the right hand side, and Y I need to be a random number. So if I go to operators and use the pick random block and put that in there, and you might need to experiment with this a little bit with the numbers to make sure it works depending on where your gap is and on the height of your pipes. But if we say minus 90 to 70, and if that doesn't work properly, then I'll change it. I'm going to duplicate that block and just put it over there for the time being. I'll show you why I'm doing that in a moment. But then I'm going to say forever, so for the whole of the game, change X, so change the position from right to left, change X by, let's start with minus 10. And then let's run that, and you'll see the pipes disappear off to the left. So the final bit that I need to say is if the pipes touch the bar, so if it is touching bar, then start again. And now you'll see the pipes are appearing at a different height, or the gap is appearing at a different height, and every time they reach the left they start again. What isn't happening is if they touch the hippo, nothing's happening. So that's the bit that I need to do next. This code needs to go on the hippo sprite or whatever is your Flappy object. So I'm going to click on the hippo. We already have the code earlier from which makes the hippo fly and fall, and now I'm going to add the code that says if the hippo touches the pipes, or if the pipes touch the hippo, then the game ends. So it's relatively straightforward. All I need to say is another when the green flag is clicked, forever, if this sprite is touching the pipes, oops, I didn't give my pipes a name. If it's touching sprite 1, which is the pipes, then I need to stop everything. Actually, what I will do is just click on the pipes sprite and call those pipes. It just makes it easier if you have the correct name for everything in your game. So you'll see now that says if touching pipes, stop all. So let's run that and see what happens. So I click the green flag. Now if the hippo touches the pipes, the game stops. See, I'm not very good at this game. Okay, so what do we need to do next? Well, we need to add a score so that it adds 1 to the score every time the hippo clears a set of pipes. So that's the next thing we're going to do. And to do that, we need to create a variable. So a variable is something where we can store some information in the computer's memory, and I need to make a variable and call it score. So I now have a variable called score, and on the pipes sprite, I'm going to add the code that every time the pipe touches the bar, the score goes up, because that means that the hippo, for them to touch the bar, the hippo must have cleared that set of pipes. So if I select pipes, and I'm going to say at the start of the game, I need to set the score to 0. And every time the pipes touch the black bar, I want to change the score by 1. The other thing that I'm going to do is, you'll notice that it puts the score up here. You can move that around, but you can also change the look of it to large readout, and that creates an orange box which goes really neatly in the end bar, and I think looks quite neat. So I'm just going to get that in the right place, and let's run it and see what happens. Well, I need to clear at least 1. Oh, okay. 1, 2, 2. So not the most amazing score, but enough to show me that my score variable is working and the game is working. And that really is a working version of Flappy Hippo. The last thing I want to show you is just a couple of nice additions that you can add to the game to make it even better. If we go back to the version that I had, you'll see that rather than starting with the green flag, I have a button on there, and of course I have the fast and slow mode as well. So these are surprisingly simple to do, and I'll show you how to do them now. We need 3 sprites, one for the fast button, one for the slow button, and one for the start button. And then we need to add just a little bit of code to make them work. So let's start off with the fast and the slow buttons. So again, I need to paint a sprite. I'm going to make my buttons green. You choose whatever colour you like. And I need to draw a small rectangle. Maybe that's a little bit too big. A little bit smaller. And then choose the text tool. And I'm going to change that to black and put the text fast on there. If you choose the arrow tool, you can then move that around so that it's centered, and now I have a fast button. You'll see that it is bigger than the bar. So I've got a few options here. I can either increase the size of the bar or decrease the size of the fast sprite, which, by the way, I am going to call fast. What I'm going to do is decrease the size of the sprite. Let's try 70%. And now that fits quite nicely in the bar. I need to do the same again. So the easiest way to do this is to right click on the fast sprite, click duplicate, and it will create fast 2, which I'm going to call slow. And then I need to choose the text tool and change that text to slow. Just move the text so that it's centered. And now I have a fast and a slow button. And for the start button, I'm going to add a sprite that is in the library. So I just click on the cat icon there, and there is a button sprite there. So that is far too big. Again, I'm going to change the size of it, probably about 50%, I think. And now I have a start button. So the last thing that I need to do is just code those buttons up. The fast button should put the game into fast mode, the slow button should put it into slow mode, and the start button should start the game. I'm going to change the name of that to start. So let's code these up. Let's code up the start button first of all. And if you did the animation project in class, you'll remember that we used something called broadcasts. Now, broadcasts are really useful for sending messages around a Scratch game. So what we're going to do when this start button is clicked is we're going to broadcast for the game to start. So all I need to do is make sure we've got the button selected and say, when this sprite is clicked, broadcast a message, new message, start. And to make that actually start the game instead of the green flag, I need to go back into anything that the green flag is already starting. So when the green flag is clicked, there are two things there. So what I need to say now is when I receive start, and move those blocks under there, get rid of the green flag, and when I receive start, move those blocks under there. There's no code on the bar. On the pipes it says everything starts on the green flag, so let's start that on start again. So when I receive start, and now to start the game, the green flag doesn't start it, but the button does. And that's nicer if you're playing this on an iPad, because it means you're tapping the screen again and your finger is nearer to where you're going to be tapping for the Hippo. So that's quite a nice feature. And the final feature is to code these buttons up so that they can make it either fast or slow. Now what it's changing is the speed of the pipes. So what we need to say is, instead of change the pipes by -10, we need to change them by a different amount. So we're going to create another variable in the orange blocks called speed. And instead of changing x by 10, we will change it by the amount of speed that's been set. So all we need to do is click on the fast sprite and say, when this sprite is clicked, set the variable speed to, let's say, -15, and on the slow sprite we'll say, when this sprite is clicked, set speed to -5. That's more my kind of speed. And that is it. That is the completed version of the basic Flappy Hippo game. Let's just test it and see that it works. So the first thing you need to do is select a mode. I'm going to select slow mode and then start the game. I still can't do it. Still can't do it. So what you can see here is either I'm very bad at the game or something needs to change slightly in it. Now I'm going to leave that to you. You'll notice if I click on fast, I haven't got a chance of getting through any of the pipes ever. Oh, got through one. I think really what's happening there is two things. I think to make this more suitable for an old person like me, I would possibly change how far these bits of the pipe jut out, and I might make the gap slightly bigger. So let's just have a quick go at doing that. So I click on the pipes, click on the costume, select this bit and just drag it in a little bit and then center it on the pipe, and do the same with this one. Yeah, I think that's going to be a little bit better. What I'm also going to do is take a little bit more off the pipes because it's just too hard for me. So I'm going to do that and move that back over there. That isn't quite centered. So I think if I have a go at that now, yes, I'm slightly better at getting through it. So there you can see how you can adapt the game by looking at the little bit of the game where it's going wrong. And that kind of debugging is a really important skill in developing computer programs. When you're happy with your game, the final thing that I want you to do is share it as you've shared your projects before, but I've created a new studio that you've got access to for all classes that are working on this project called Your Flappy Game. So share it into that studio and I'll be able to have a look at it, but more importantly, play your game. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and more importantly, I hope you enjoy working on this project and making a Flappy game.